It's one thing to live in a small space on your own, but sharing it with another human is a different challenge entirely. I'm filming this with a couple of hours of peace and quiet because my husband Rob is off to work right now. 3.5 years ago, Rob and I moved into this 400 square foot apartment together, and we've learned a lot since then about respecting each other's space. So in this video, I wanted to share some tips for how we navigate living small together in case it helps you in a situation where you're also living small. And if you're new here, I'm Tina, and I talk about home, personal style, and intentional living when it comes to being in a small space. So if all that piques your interest, feel free to hit the follow button, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. So let's talk about sharing a small space without losing your mind. One of the things that we did that I think is really key to sharing a small space with somebody else is to first talk about what matters in your space and make room for it. And basically what this means is that you recognize that being different people, you will have different interests, and the room needs to be created for those in one another's lives. For example, maybe one of you has a substantial book collection, or maybe the other is really interested in having a workshop. Paying attention to what each person is interested in and creating room creates a foundation of respect for how you will operate through the space. Agreeing on how you'll set up the space to be able to handle each other's interests is something that's unique to each couple, and it doesn't have to be an even split down the middle for each area of the home. We're in the bedroom to illustrate my point about not needing to split every space down the middle evenly. I love fashion, Rob does not. He gets the top shelf for his items and these side sort of pockets, whereas I get the lower shelf. I have 2 pull-out drawers there as well, full of my stuff, and underneath the bed we also have additional bins for my clothing. And yes, lately I also have a spillover hanger bar just outside of our bedroom. This is our bedroom door here. And so you can see that I have a lot of space for clothes, a lot more than Rob does. But on the flip side, he is much more of a tech gadget person. And so he gets this credenza for his items. There's very little in there that belongs to me, as well as these bins underneath the credenza. All of this goes to say that you really should be thinking about each other's unique interests and what space is needed to cover those, and figure out a solution that works for you. A second tip I have for you on how to navigate sharing a small space together is to agree on a maintenance and cleaning schedule. This is a big one for me because I'm pretty organized and I like to keep my space clean. And I find messes are a lot easier to pile up in a small space, and they can create fights if you don't set ground rules first. And this is probably something that people do in larger homes as well, but it becomes really key in a small space because you often end up kind of on top of each other in a sense. And sharing that space means that you just have to have some clearer boundaries around how you're each going to use it. So Rob and I agreed on different duties in the house and how often they'll get done. For example, he cleans the bathroom, and that's something that gets done once a week. But when it comes to the dishes, that's a daily responsibility. So we alternate between making sure that one of us does them before the end of the day. And it's not just about keeping a cleaning schedule. Being in a small space and keeping it functional requires that you do regular maintenance. What I mean by this is ensuring that you are taking responsibility for your stuff and everything has a home. For example, we both follow a 1 in, 1 out rule when it comes to personal possessions. So when one of us brings something new into the house, we're recognizing that there's finite space, and we agree to part with something else to keep the balance and not to overwhelm the space. The third tip I have for you on navigating sharing a small space together is to do some meal planning. Food and cooking is a reality, and doing this at home when you have a small space requires some coordination. It's important to get on the same page about whether and how often you cook together, how you do the grocery shopping, and how you're sharing in the cost as well as the planning of your meals. When Rob and I moved into this space together, we weren't doing a lot of cooking together because we had very different diets. Moving in forced us to really get on the same page about what types of foods we both could eat and how we could share in the planning for meals around those foods. To do this, we discussed the foods that we could both eat and started to establish some common meals we could make. We created a shared shopping list to streamline grocery trips and avoid overbuying, and we split the bill. Of course, you might have different ways around how you navigate this as a couple or as roommates. You might designate different days for meal prep, considering each other's schedules. You might experiment with batch cooking. You might take turns in dividing the tasks around meal prep. Like one of you could get groceries and the other one could do the cooking. Whatever you decide, it's something that's important to do together and to land on a process that works for you, because that will make living in your space so much easier. So there you have it. Those are some tips for how Rob and I navigate sharing a small space. The list is obviously not exhaustive and there are lots more avenues to explore. I'd be curious to know, if you live in a small space with a partner, what ideas you have to share. So please drop your ideas in the comment section. And if you liked this video, it would help me so much if you would hit the like and subscribe and follow for more, because I have tons more ideas in this space to share. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.